Fortnite has lots of controller settings, and a lot of them are very confusing, hard to understand, and hard to know if you should use them or not. That's why today I'm going to be showing you the best controller settings right now, as well as fully explaining each setting and how it works. With that being said, let's get into the settings. As you can see, this first setting is called Controller Auto Run, and is easy to understand. When it's on, you can start automatically running forward by holding down your left stick, but this is very pointless as you can start auto running by simply opening your map. If this setting is on, it could also mess up some of your binds, for example if you edit with left stick, so you can go ahead and turn this setting off. The next setting, called Build Immediately, is also pretty straightforward to understand. When it's on, you will build immediately after pulling out a new build piece, instead of manually clicking to place the build. So you should of course turn this setting on, as it literally lets you build faster. These next two settings, called Reset Camera Axes and Reset Camera Time, will be irrelevant and pointless for 99% of people. These settings are to do with a forgotten controller bind called Reset Camera, and when you use this, you could click one button and your camera would reset back to the center of your screen. But this bind was pretty pointless, and therefore these two settings are as well. Next up is the vibration setting, and again, this is simple to understand. When it's on, your controller will vibrate when you're shooting or getting shot at. This setting is very distracting and gives you added input delay, so make sure to keep this off. Now we're getting on to the sensitivity settings. You can ignore these first two settings as they are greyed out because we are going to be using advanced options. As for the build and edit multiplier setting, this is how much faster your sensitivity is while building and editing compared to your normal sensitivity. For example, if your normal sensitivity was 10 and you had a 2 times build mode sensitivity multiplier, your sensitivity while building would be 20. Personally, I have my build mode multiplier set to 1.9 and my edit multiplier set to 2.3. And these are both good and very popular choices among pro players. If you find it too fast, decrease the setting until you're happy, or if it's too slow, increase it until you're happy. After you've turned on advanced options, you will now have lots of new settings and options available, and these first two are look horizontal and look vertical speed. These are pretty easy to understand. It's your sensitivity settings, and one controls your sensitivity while looking up and down, and the other controls it while looking to left and right. But you don't even need to know that, as you should always have these two settings set to the same number. Personally, I use 42%, and again, this is a very common and generic choice, making it a good starting point. These next two settings, turning horizontal boost and turning vertical boost, are basically an extra boost you can add to your sensitivity when your joystick is pushed as far as it goes. Personally, I keep this on 0% as I find it makes my edits less consistent, but some players do use this and have it set to around 2 to 7%. The two following settings, turning boost ramp time and instant boost when building, are also to do with the other boost settings. These settings are pretty confusing, but this first one is a delay before your boost kicks in, and the other one, when turned on, gets rid of the delay when you're in build mode. As I don't use the previous boost settings, I don't use these two either. Now we're getting onto the aim down sight settings. These settings are all to do with your sensitivity while you're aiming in. Your ADS sensitivity should always be lower than your normal sensitivity so that you can track your opponents effectively. Mine is set to 11 7%, as I find it slow enough to be accurate, but it's fast enough that my crosshair can keep up with opponents, even while they are gliding. These 3 other settings are all to do with a boost to your ADS sensitivity, just like with the normal sensitivity settings, and as you can see, I also don't use any of these settings either. The next setting is called Look Dampening Time. In simple terms, this setting is a delay between you pushing your joystick and your sensitivity reaching its full speed. Personally, I have a slight delay of 0.18 seconds, as it helps me be more controlled, but some players have this setting set to 0 seconds, so it's really up to you and your personal preference. Even though this setting, Look Input Curve, is towards the bottom of the list, it's actually one of the most important settings on controller. When you have this setting set to linear, your game will be registering every tiny movement you make with your crosshair, and will allow you to make much quicker and precise movements. On the other hand, if you set this setting to exponential, small movements you make with your crosshair will be ignored, and this can help you if you struggle to control your crosshair, but it does make your gameplay very choppy. Nearly all pro controller players, apart from a few exceptions, play on linear, so I'd suggest that you do as well. This setting needs no explanation. If you're a controller player, you're definitely going to be setting this to 100% to make the most of your controller advantage. By the way, these 2 buttons here, Copy Basic Settings and Copy Legacy Settings, will completely reset your controller settings, so make sure to not click them or you'll be right back to square one. The final setting is your controller dead zone. This setting decides how big of an area on your controller's joystick is ignored. This means you should set this setting as low as you can, but the lower you go, the more likely you are of getting stick drift on your controller, which is where your crosshair moves without you touching the joystick. This setting will be different for everyone depending on the quality and age of your controller, but most controllers should be able to handle 10%. And there you have it. That's every controller setting fully explained. If you enjoyed or found this video useful, please consider subscribing and watching this other controller tips and tricks video, as it is also very useful.